After spending the day at Tish and Donnie's beach villa, we decided it was time to visit an ocean beach.
Tish suggested we check out an ocean beach called
Ladies and Gentlemen, the Traveling Wildberries.
Lawrencetown Beach. So, up to this point, we have visited the Ottawa River front at Remick Rapids, the beach at Morrisburg, the beach at Madawaska River, the beach along the St. John River, the sandy beach of Northumberland Strait, the cliff beach on the shores of the Labrador Sea in Glace Bay, and Tish and Donnie's pool beach. I guess it's fair to refer to that as a beach. I mean, after all, it is at the edge of the water.
We decided we were indeed going to head to Lawrencetown Beach tomorrow.
Unfortunately, the weather wasn't the greatest in the morning when we left, but we decided we would take a chance and go anyways in the hopes that it would clear up.
It did get a bit warmer, but the clouds didn't let up.
We stopped at a site just up the road from the beach parking lot, just to check things out.
We took a walk and did some sightseeing along the ridge, then drove a bit further down the highway to the beach parking area.
It was not very welcoming, so we decided we would revisit the place later in the week, when it was warmer and sunnier.
On the way back to Tish's place, we did some sightseeing as Tish drove us around checking out some of her old stomping grounds. She even drove past my old school.
The next day, Bart and I watched Donnie do a clean-up, fix-up job on the lawnmower, while Kitty Cat sat and lounged and supervised from the handrail.
We had a lovely time hanging out at Tish and Donnie's Beach Resort.
The next day, we decided to visit McCormick's Beach.
After walking around checking out the waterfront and the various spots, we chose a vendor and enjoyed a plate of fish and chips. As we were enjoying our lunch, we saw one of the military helicopters doing a flyover.
Donnie suggested we visit the Shearwater Aviation Museum when we leave the beach here. Donnie is in the service, so we got a first-hand description of how the helicopters docked on the boat decks while we were at the museum. It was quite interesting.
That tensions it, because what's coming out of the ship from the helicopter is a lightweight cable, same with this. This one, that's the bottom there, that's a lot thinner than what comes out of the ship. So this bottom, the heavy duty cable, gets hauled up into that probe, sticking out the bottom, and it's locked into the bottom of the helicopter. And then now what it does is put the helicopter and the ship in sync. So as the ship goes up and down with the waves, it'll pull up on the stick and lift, like the helicopter's trying to lift the ship. The helicopter will move up and down with the ship. So what they're trying to do, though the cable has enough power to haul the helicopter right down, it's a cooperative thing. They'll try to do, the guy that's sitting in that little shack there will feel when there's a lull in the ship and it's not moving, and he'll say, okay, down, down, down. So then the ship will haul the helicopter down, and they'll do a little bit less load and bring it down. So then that probe that's sticking below the ship goes into the middle, somewhere within the square. And that arm there, and that arm there, being fixed with a teeth, they will slide and they will close onto that probe, and it holds the helicopter down into the main tank. Now there's the other part on the tail, which is your tail probe. That's like a little ball in an onion head. It would land, if the helicopter's off to the side, it would land somewhere in these grooves. And then what happens is that little ball would go in here and expand like an onion, and then it would lock in between these rails. So if you're off to the side or anything like that, like sometimes, a lot of times it would land there, like that. But as they're rolling the ship, it would slide sideways, fall into one, and then the head would spring open by spring loading.
Right.
So that locks the tail from moving it left and right. Then eventually, we got to haul it into the hangar, and you've got to get it centered. So to center it, this goes forward where we'll take cables. Normally there's cables that would come out of the deck over here, and another cable over there, and then we attach it to there and there on the other side. So as you're moving the helicopter forward and then backwards, you're swinging the tail, so that tail probe now comes into the center part right here, and what it does is it then puts that tail probe right into that middle rail.
After our tour of the museum, we headed back to Tishas Beach to hang out.
The forecast for the next day was hot and sunny, so we decided to go back to check out Lawrencetown Beach.
We got there around 11. After setting up, we checked out the water, then watched the surfers doing their thing.
He's trying. There he goes. Yeah, he's got it. Next day after that, we went to visit another friend of Kathy's. She and her husband live in an apartment which sits on the banks of a beautiful lake called Fletchers Lake. Their balcony is at the back of the building and it overlooks the lake. It's just the most perfect spot. We hung out there for the next couple of days.
After day 2, we took off to spend some time at the Harbourfront.
Yeah, after we realized that we could park overnight for free, that seemed like the best option. We walked around for a few hours, enjoying the music and the hustle bustle of the people milling around.
Out of all the times we have been to the harbor here, this was actually the first time we see one of those cruise ships docked. It's amazing to see how big they are.
We ended up at a spot near Rainbow Haven Beach for the overnight. This is where we met the 3 females. If I'm remembering the story correctly, 2 of them had come from Germany and 1 from Sweden. The 2 from Germany were at the end of their journey, so they were selling their car to the girl from Sweden, who was continuing on to the east coast. Very nice folks, very friendly and kind. We shared some stories and some laughs, and then a coffee in the morning before we all went our separate ways. In the morning, we drove over and parked at the lot at the beach.
We spent the whole day there, then went back to the Harbourfront and met up with Brian and Gail.
But then we spent another evening walking around the waterfront enjoying the sights and sounds.
Based on a recommendation by Brian and Gail, who stayed at King Neptune campsite recently, we all made reservations there for tomorrow. And since it's just down the road from Peggy's Cove, we decided we would get an early start and check that out in the morning, and then go over to the campsite in the afternoon from there. Brian and Gail left the next afternoon as they had some chores and things to take care of, but we decided to stay, so we booked another night.
Next morning, we got up early and picked up Sherry and Steve. Then we drove out to yet another new beach called Queensland Beach. This has got to be my favorite one so far. The sun was shining, the beach was filled with people, the temperature was hot.
We hung out on the beach all day. I seem to remember doing this yesterday, and the day before, and the day before that. Oh yeah, that's why we called it the beach tour.
This place is neat. The ocean water is very salty, so your skin feels all sticky and tight when you get out of the water. But the nice thing is, however, there is a freshwater lake on the opposite side of the road, not more than 30 feet away, so you can go and rinse off before you lounge on the beach.
Not to mention the parking. Your vehicle is basically less than 30 feet from wherever you are situated on the beach. So if you need a drink or a popsicle or a snack, you don't have far to go.
Yeah, I really like that. So to recap, we can add Lawrencetown Beach, McCormick's Beach, Fletchers Lake, the Halifax Harbourfront, technically a beach, Rainbow Haven Beach, the beach at Peggy's Cove, the beach at King Neptune Campsite, and Queensland Beach. Oh yeah, and the lake across the road from Queensland Beach, which is actually called Queensland Lake. And that's it. We are feeling a little waterlogged, so we'll end this video here.
The next video finds us at a few more beaches, including another red sand beach, which offered up a spectacular sunset and sunrise. We'd love it if you came back to share it with us.
Ciao for now.